Hi guys, welcome back to the web, and I'm here with a friend of mine. His name is Dashawn. Can you please introduce yourself?
How you guys doing out there, everybody that's tuning in today, tonight, or however this receives you? It is so grateful to be on the web with Paul Richards. Come on, somebody. He's I'm just waiting to see what's in store.
All right. So, can you introduce yourself as coming from growing up to who you are as an adult right now, or basically what is it like growing up? Where are
Well,
you from? Give a backstory.
okay, basically what it was like growing up for me. I grew up born 1981. Come on for all of us in the 80s babies. Thank God we was in the 80s as kids and not the 90s in the 80s, you know that stuff. But growing up as a kid, we had a lot of schools. No, we had one school that gave black kids a place to have performing arts, and it gave a lot of us a way to learn that we had talents in singing, dancing, and the arts and stuff. And then at that particular time, my mom and dad was going through their stuff, and then there was drugs involved. But my mama decided to change her life. We moved to Richmond, found God, went to church, and then everything started going up and up, from then and on there. But when you get older, life always have a life curve for you, and you don't never know which wave you gonna turn on. Like, have you ever had friends in high school that you think they're your friends for the rest of your life and realize they get up, grow up, get married, they move to different countries, different states, and it's just good to be among the land of the living right now and in my right mind and able to be amongst good people, especially in this pandemic era. And one thing I'm very grateful of, that I still have the love of family, friendship, just things that's not like business as we once knew.
Amen to that. I like the idea of you touching on a little topic, a little minor topic. You said a little bit of an impact on drugs. Can you touch on that a little bit that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, the impact on drugs stems from, ironically, you know, earlier today and yesterday I've been watching a series called Snowfall, and it shows a rise.
That's a
And
TV show, right?
yeah, yes, it's a TV series.
Okay.
I think they up to 4 seasons, so everybody should check that out. It's really a good a watch, and it shows you the ins and outs of different people doing the drug smuggle. But in my era, I saw that coming up, and my parents were on that stuff, and it took 10, 15, 20 years for them to get off if some of them never have. I've seen friends get taken away from that. And I am just grateful that me and my brothers, am I on the right subject?
Yeah, you are.
I'm grateful that me and I have two other brothers, and that's one thing that I know none of us have succumbed to, because we knew how it took over our parents and most of our relatives, young and old. So, yeah, when it comes to that, I'm always sentimental. I'm always grateful that it's not me, but never feeling like that I'm better than. Is that cool?
That's cool.
Cool.
So,
I feel that way.
what is it like being black or African American living in the United States?
Oh, that's a tough one. But what I can say, when I was growing up, literally, this is a true story. When I was growing up in my teenage years, up until my mid 20s, I had never really, in my mind, experienced no form of racism. But then as I got older, probably not shortly after that, I start, hearing the stories, and then I'm like, okay, they acting crazy or something. Until something happened to me, and I'm like, I ain't doing nothing. I'm sitting in the passenger seat. But I feel like right now, with the Black Lives Movement, with everything that has so much more exposure to get, the story out, that I feel like, especially young black men, do what they say. Just put your hands up, lay down. But, I never hear stories of white officers shooting white officers, but I try not to make it, a white and black type of thing. But I also feel like there is a lot of still segregation that is not going to get handled until, I'm not really political, but let's see how this administration changes, and let's see where we can move from there. Let's see what Biden can try to fix and unfix.
So you mentioned the Black Lives Matter movement.
Mm-hmm.
How how do you feel about that movement? Do you think that is creating change, and do you see it in as an individual living in the United States? Do you see how it's impacting you, your family, and your community?
Yes, 100%. I actually believe with this movement, it brings so much awareness. Young, old, rich, poor, black people, Latino people, because they kind of much included in the Black Lives Matter movement. But I was saying, like, when I was piggybacking on the movie that I watched, if they had had camera phones, and all this stuff to do things, it'd be easier to detect things. But I do feel like Black Lives Movement have made a statement. It's a part of pop culture right now. It's never going to change. It's something that's going to always be embedded in the 21st century. And Black Lives Movement is never going to be something that's going to go away, because in my neighborhood and white neighborhoods and neighborhoods when I go to other cities and towns,
Mm-hmm.
people do represent black lives, and they are always not of the descent of black ethnicity. So I do believe it made a major point.
So it's not just the black community, but the white, Latino, and other
It's
minorities and groups that are getting involved.
what I've saw, what I've seen, and I come around different people. I believe it's a worldwide,
It's a worldwide movement. Okay.
because I've seen photos of other countries and stuff that have Black Lives Matter. There's not black people just from where I'm from.
Okay. I got it. So there's been a lot of headlines about George Floyd's death, and I'm wondering, how do you feel about what happened to George Floyd? If you have seen it, the video, or heard about it. You haven't heard about George Floyd
No, I actually have not heard about this story.
at all? You've never seen the officer kneeling on his neck and him.
Oh, I'm so sorry. His name kind of passed me, because sometimes we forget.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one when the officer had kneeled on this black man's neck,
Yeah.
because they said he had gave a counterfeit bill to whatever store he was in,
Right.
and there were two white officers that was by seeing it, and he stayed on his neck long enough to where he died.
Yes.
What I felt about that is, it was how so much that we still segregated, because there were so many people that had to witness it, but so scared to do anything about it, because like if the black people had said anything, then you either get handcuffed, and I didn't see no white people, but from what I saw from the video, it was a couple of transactions, and the third one, his back was turned. But all I can do for situations like that is pray that I never come into one, and also be thankful to God that it wasn't me. But also have much love for the family on all the tragedies that had happened throughout 2020.
Additionally, Breonna Taylor's death was also tragic, and we saw that all over most of 2020, along with the Black Lives Matter movement, all over the headlines, where they were protesting her death, where a police officer came in and they had a shootout. Basically, the police officer, they had a no knock warrant. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. And what that means is that they can enter without knocking. And they pushed that door down, and Breonna Taylor's boyfriend was in shock. I believe he fired a shot, and the police officer also fired, and it hit Breonna Taylor, and she died. And now the injustice of it all has been brought to the forefront or to the light, where we can see that the police officers need proper training, and they also need to understand why black people are fearful of them on a cultural level because of the mistreatment after slavery.
Yeah.
Did you hear about Breonna Taylor's death?
To be truthful, I think nobody really knew who she was until after it happened. Once I got wind of it, and you know when something's wrong when it becomes a global thing. You know, when you have the president, the first lady, other, big people in the entertainment, and just regular people like us, that when something gets done unjust and it's unlawfully, but the law don't take it in the hands that, we feel like we worthy to receive. And a lot of times they think that black people just want the money for a death. No, they want they kids back. And I'm sorry I'm so loud, but yeah, it just goes along to say there's so many cases, without the last 5 years that we can go on and on about. And there's similar cases that there has to be something, done. That's why, I'm so grateful that we finally have a female in the White House, but let alone a black female, because I believe a new president and a black woman female can shape some of this stuff around.
Well, on that note, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in a few, folks.